Wedding's off. My lawyer will contact you. That text should have destroyed me. Instead, I found a $500,000 life insurance policy with her as beneficiary, an offshore account, and her escape plan file. Then my son revealed what he'd overheard. I pulled the plug on everything before she could finish. My name is Ryan Mitchell. I'm 43 years old, and I work as a physical therapist specializing in sports medicine here in Denver. It's honest work, helping athletes get back on their feet. The money's decent, steady enough to provide for my son Tyler and build what I thought would be a comfortable future. 3 years ago, my wife Sarah died from cancer. Stage 4, aggressive, the kind that doesn't negotiate. Tyler was 13 when we lost her, and watching my boy try to hold himself together at the funeral while his whole world shattered nearly destroyed me. For 2 years after that, it was just us, father and son against the world, figuring out how to cook without burning everything, how to exist in a house that felt too quiet without her laughter. Then I met Victoria Hayes at a charity run I was working. She volunteered at the medical tent, all smiles and efficiency. We started talking, then coffee, then dinners. She had a 15-year-old daughter named Emma. Victoria told me Emma's father wasn't in the picture, that it had been a brief relationship years ago. She never wanted to talk details, and I respected that. People have pasts, right? 6 months into dating, Tyler and I met Emma properly. The kids hit it off surprisingly well. My son, who'd barely smiled since his mother's death, actually laughed at something Emma said during dinner. I remember thinking, maybe we could make this work. Maybe we could be a family again. That was my first mistake. Confusing hope with reality. We moved fast. Too fast. Within a year, we were engaged. Victoria moved into my place with Emma, and suddenly our quiet house had life again. Tyler seemed happier. Emma called me almost dad, as a joke at first, then it stuck. I was building something good here. Something solid. Or that's what I told myself while signing the papers to buy back my old house, the one Sarah and I had lived in before she got sick. I'd sold it after she died, but Victoria convinced me we should buy it back. It's perfect for our new beginning, she'd said. Sarah would want you to be happy here again. That should have been a warning sign, but I was too grateful to notice I was being played. The wedding was set for October, just 3 months away when everything fell apart. We'd booked the venue, paid deposits, ordered rings. Victoria handled most of the planning through her event coordinator connections. I thought she was just being helpful. I didn't know she was organizing something else entirely. The morning it started, I was at the clinic treating a high school quarterback with a torn ACL. My phone buzzed during the session. I glanced at it quickly. Wedding's off. My lawyer will contact you. 6 words. That's all it took to blow up everything I'd built over 18 months. I stared at that text for 30 seconds while the kid on my table asked if I was okay. I wasn't, but I told him I was fine, finished the session on autopilot, then walked out to my truck and sat there trying to understand what just happened. No warning, no argument, no explanation, just a cold text message ending our engagement like she was canceling a dentist appointment. And the mention of a lawyer? That sent ice through my chest. I called her. Voicemail. Texted back. No response. She'd vanished, leaving only that brutal message behind. That's when something shifted inside me. The shock faded, replaced by something colder, sharper. Because looking back over the past few months, I realized Victoria had been showing signs I'd ignored. The way she'd stopped sharing her schedule, how she'd insisted all the house utilities stay in my name until after the wedding. That expensive life insurance policy she'd suggested I take out 3 months ago with her as beneficiary. The weekend trips to visit her sister that coincided with times I was busy with Tyler. I sat in that truck for 10 minutes, my mind racing through every detail, every strange moment I'd brushed off. Then I did something that probably saved my financial life. I made calls. My lawyer, my bank, the mortgage company, the insurance company. Because if Victoria thought she could send a text and walk away clean while I held the bag, she'd seriously underestimated who she was dealing with. I'd already lost one woman I loved to something I couldn't control. I'd be damned if I'd let another one destroy me by choice. The war was just beginning, and this time I was going to fight back. The first call I made was to Tom Griggs, my attorney. We'd known each other since high school, played football together, stayed in touch over the years. He answered on the second ring. Tom, it's Ryan. I need your help right now, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Tom picked up on the tone immediately. What happened? Victoria just texted me that the wedding's off, and her lawyer will be contacting me. No explanation. Nothing. Just those words. There was a pause. She didn't call? Didn't talk to you first? Nothing. Radio silence. And Tom, we've got joint accounts. I bought back my old house with her name going on the deed next month. There's a life insurance policy with her as beneficiary. I need to lock everything down right now. Tom didn't waste time with sympathy. Don't touch anything she owns. Don't go to the house if she's there. I'll file paperwork to freeze the joint accounts within the hour. Send me screenshots of that text and any other communication. Do you have access to your financial records? Everything's on my laptop at home. Good. Get copies of everything. Bank statements, insurance documents, the house purchase agreement, wedding contracts, everything. And Ryan, don't talk to her. Don't respond to any texts. If she calls, let go to voicemail. Anything you say can be twisted later. I ended the call and immediately dialed my bank. The representative who answered sounded bored until I explained I needed to freeze a joint account due to suspected fraud. That got her attention. She transferred me to a manager, and within 15 minutes, I'd locked down the account Victoria, and I had opened for wedding expenses. $38,000. Most of it my contributions, now frozen solid. Next, the insurance company. I explained I wanted to change the beneficiary on my policy immediately. The agent said there was a waiting period for changes, but I could file a formal request. I did, right there on the phone, changing the beneficiary from Victoria Hayes to my son Tyler Mitchell. The mortgage broker was my last call. I'd been in the process of refinancing to add Victoria's name to the house deed. I need to halt that process immediately, I told the broker, a woman named Sandra who'd been handling the paperwork for weeks. Mr. Mitchell, we're scheduled to close in 2 weeks. If you pull out now, you'll lose the appraisal fees and I don't care about the fees. Stop the process. My engagement just ended, and I'm not putting anyone's name on my property. Sandra's voice softened. I understand. I'll send the cancellation paperwork today. I'm sorry this happened. By the time I finished those calls, my hands had stopped shaking. I sat in my truck in a clinic parking lot, staring at my phone. Victoria still hadn't responded. No calls, no texts, nothing. It was like she dropped a bomb and walked away to watch the explosion from a safe distance. But I wasn't exploding. I was fortifying. I drove home, my mind working through everything I needed to do. Document everything. Secure my assets. Protect Tyler from whatever nightmare was coming. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. My son had grown attached to Emma, had started opening up again, had begun to heal from losing his mother. Victoria's decision was going to hurt him too, and that made this personal in a way money never could. When I pulled into the driveway, Tyler's car was already there. He had early release on Wednesdays. I sat in the truck for a moment, trying to figure out how to tell my 16-year-old son that the family we'd been building was gone. That Emma, the girl who'd made him smile again, was being ripped away by her mother's decision. I walked inside to find Tyler in the kitchen, making a sandwich. He looked up and grinned. "Hey, Dad, you're home early." The innocence in his face nearly broke me. He had no idea what was coming. "Tyler, we need to talk," I said, setting my keys on the counter. My son looked up from his sandwich, and something in my face made his smile fade. "What's wrong?" I sat down across from him at the kitchen table. There was no easy way to do this. Victoria sent me a text today. The wedding's off. Tyler's expression froze. What? What? I don't know. She didn't give a reason. Just said it was over and her lawyer would contact me. Her lawyer. Tyler's voice rose. "Dad, what the hell? She didn't even call you?" "No, just a text." Tyler stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "That's insane. You guys were fine yesterday. What about Emma? Does she know?" That question hit me hard because I've been wondering the same thing. "I don't know, son. Victoria's not answering my calls. This is messed up." Tyler paced across the kitchen, running his hands through his hair. The gesture reminded me painfully of his mother. "Emma and we were supposed to hang out this weekend. We had plans." I'd suspected for a while that Tyler and Emma had grown closer than just future step-siblings. The way they looked at each other, the constant texting, how Tyler's mood improved whenever her name came up. But I'd figured they were smart enough to navigate whatever feelings they had. "I know this is hard," I said carefully, "but I need to stay away from Emma for now. Whatever's happening between Victoria and me, I don't want you caught in the middle." Tyler stopped pacing and stared at me. "Stay away from her?" Dad, she's my friend. She's more than my friend. There it was. Out in the open. I know, I said quietly. And that makes this harder. But Tyler, if Victoria is bringing lawyers into this, things are going to get complicated. I need to protect us, and that means keeping some distance until we know what's happening. This isn't fair, Tyler said, his voice tight. We didn't do anything wrong. You're right. It's not fair. But life rarely is. Tyler grabbed his phone off the counter. I'm texting Emma. She needs to know I'm here for her. Tyler. No, Dad. I'm not ghosting her because her mom's being crazy. Emma's probably freaking out right now. He was already typing, his jaw set in that stubborn way that told me arguing would be pointless. I watched him, torn between protecting my son and understanding that he was trying to do the right thing. Finally, I nodded. Okay, but be careful what you say. Screenshots can end up in court. Tyler looked at me, and for a moment, I saw him as the man he was becoming instead of the boy I still pictured. I'll be careful, but I'm not abandoning her. After Tyler went upstairs, I opened my laptop and started going through files. Bank statements, insurance documents, wedding contracts, receipts for deposits I paid. Everything Tom had told me to gather. The numbers were staggering. Between the venue, catering, Victoria's dress, the rings, and the house down payment, I'd sunk nearly $90,000 into our future together. $90,000 gone in a 6-word text message. I was halfway through printing documents when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then remembered Tom's advice about documentation. I hit record on my phone's voice memo app and answered. Mr. Mitchell, this is Patricia Vance from Vance & Associates. I'm calling on behalf of my client, Victoria Hayes. Here we go. I'm listening. My client wishes to discuss the division of joint assets and settlement of wedding-related expenses. She's proposing a meeting next week to tell your client she can communicate through my attorney, Thomas Griggs at Griggs Legal. I'll send you his contact information. There was a pause. Mr. Mitchell, I think it would be beneficial for all parties if we could handle this amicably without. Ms. Vance, your client, ended our engagement via text message with zero explanation. There's nothing amicable about this situation. All communication goes through my lawyer. I hung up and immediately forwarded the recording to Tom. His response came back in seconds. Perfect. Don't answer if she calls again. Upstairs, I could hear Tyler on the phone, his voice low and intense. Talking to Emma, I assumed. 2 kids who'd found something good in each other, now being torn apart by their parents' mess. I stared at my laptop screen, at the financial documents that represented everything I'd invested in a future that no longer existed, and felt that cold anger settle deeper into my bones. Victoria wanted to play this game? Fine. But she was about to learn that I wasn't the kind of man who rolled over when someone tried to rob him blind. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept running through the past year, looking for the moment where this all started to go wrong. The signs I'd missed, the red flags I'd ignored. Around 2 in the morning, I gave up and went downstairs to make coffee. Tyler was already in the kitchen, sitting at the table in the dark with his phone. Can't sleep either? I asked, flipping on the light. He looked up, and I could see he'd been crying. That hit me harder than anything else that day. Tyler hadn't cried since his mother's funeral. Not once in 3 years. Dad, I need to tell you something, he said, his voice rough. And you're going to be angry. I sat down across from him. Try me. Tyler took a breath. About 2 weeks ago, I heard Victoria on the phone. You were at work. Emma was at school. I came home early because practice got canceled. He paused, looking down at his hands. She was in your room, talking to someone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but her voice was loud enough that I heard through the door. My stomach tightened. What did she say? She said, I need to get out before the wedding. If I wait until after, it complicates everything legally. Tyler looked up at me. Then she said a name. Derek. She called him Derek. The air left my lungs. Derek. Yeah. She said something like, Derek, I know you're worried, but I have this handled. Caleb won't suspect anything until it's too late. Except she said her name, not Caleb. That was just an example. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, fighting to keep my voice level. Because I didn't know what it meant. Tyler's voice broke. I thought maybe it was about work, or a friend, or I don't know. I asked Emma about it later. Try to be casual. Asked if her mom knew anyone named Derek. What did Emma say? She got really quiet. Then she said, that's my biological father's name. Tyler's hands were shaking. Dad, I think Victoria was planning this the whole time. And I think Emma knew something was wrong, but didn't know how to tell me. I sat back, my mind racing. Derek, the father who supposedly wasn't in the picture. The man Victoria had refused to discuss. Did Emma say anything else? We've been texting tonight. She's at her grandmother's house now. Victoria dropped her off this afternoon and told her to stay there for a few days. Tyler pulled up his phone. She sent me this. He showed me a screenshot of a text from Emma. My mom's been lying to both of us. Derek is back. He's always been around. I'm so sorry, Tyler. I should have told you what I heard. What did she hear? I asked. Tyler scrolled to another message. About 3 weeks ago, Emma overheard Victoria and Derek talking about you. About how much money you'd put into the wedding and the house. Derek said something like, make sure you're out before he figures it out. Emma didn't understand what they meant, but she's been scared ever since. I stared at those messages, feeling pieces click into place. This wasn't a sudden decision. This was planned, calculated. Victoria had been working with Derek, Emma's father, to extract as much money from me as possible before pulling the plug. I'm sorry, Dad, Tyler said quietly. I should have said something when I first heard that phone call. You didn't know what it meant, I said, reaching across the table to grip his shoulder. And you were trying to protect what we had. I get it. Emma's a mess right now. She keeps apologizing, saying she should have warned us. This isn't her fault. She's 15 years old. She shouldn't have to police her mother's schemes. I stood up, my mind already moving to the next steps. Forward me those screenshots. All of them. You're going to use them? I'm going to make sure Victoria and this Derek character don't get away with what they've done. Tyler nodded, his jaw set. Good. Because Emma deserves better than this. And so do you. I took my coffee and Tyler's phone screenshots upstairs to my office and started a new document. Everything Tyler had told me. Everything Emma had shared. Times, dates, direct quotes. By the time the sun came up, I had a detailed timeline that painted a very clear picture. Victoria Hayes and Derek Carlson had been planning to defraud me for months, and now I had evidence. The next morning, I met with Tom at his office. I brought everything. Bank statements, screenshots from Emma, Tyler's account of the overheard conversation, and every receipt related to the wedding. Tom spread the documents across his conference table, his expression growing darker as he read through Emma's messages. This is fraud, Tom said flatly. Victoria and this Derek character were running a con. Can we prove it? I asked. With these texts from Emma? Absolutely. She's a minor, which makes her a credible witness. And Tyler's testimony about the phone call he overheard adds corroboration. Tom tapped the insurance documents. But there's something else we need to look into. You said Victoria pushed hard for you to take out this life insurance policy. 3 months ago, she said it was smart planning, that we needed to protect each other. Tom's jaw tightened. Ryan, the beneficiary amount is $500,000. That's a lot of coverage for a guy your age with no health issues. And look at the date she had you sign this. I looked. June 15th. What about it? That's exactly 3 months before your wedding date. Most life insurance policies have a 2-year contestability period, but the early death benefit kicks in after just 90 days. Tom met my eyes. If something happened to you after September 15th, Victoria would collect $500,000. No questions asked. The room felt colder. You think she was planning something worse than just stealing my money? I think we need to take this to the police. Between the insurance policy timing, the documented conversations about getting out before the wedding, and the systematic financial extraction, this crosses into criminal territory. I sat back, my mind reeling. I thought Victoria was just a gold digger. But this suggested something far more dangerous. Tom continued. I'm filing for a restraining order today. Victoria and Derek don't come near you, Tyler, or your property. I'm also alerting the insurance company about potential fraud. They'll launch their own investigation. What about Emma? I asked. She's caught in the middle of this. Her mother's a criminal, and she's living with her grandmother trying to process all this. Emma's a minor. We can't legally do anything for her unless her grandmother seeks custody. But the text she sent Tyler shows she's aware her mother was defrauding you. That could help her case if it comes to custody issues. After leaving Tom's office, I drove to the sporting goods store where I'd bought Tyler's cleats last month. I needed to clear my head, and walking through familiar aisles helped me think. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Dad. Emma just called me. She's freaking out. Victoria showed up at her grandmother's house demanding Emma come home. Her grandmother refused, and Victoria started screaming that Emma betrayed her by talking to me. Is Emma safe? Her grandmother called the police. They made Victoria leave, but Emma's scared she'll come back. I turned around and headed for the exit. Tell him I'm calling Tom right now. We're getting that restraining order pushed through today. Victoria doesn't get to terrorize a 15-year-old girl for telling the truth. Thanks, Dad. Emma said to tell you she's sorry for everything. Tell her she has nothing to apologize for. Her mother's actions aren't her responsibility. I called Tom from the parking lot. Within 2 hours, he'd expedited a temporary restraining order that included Emma's grandmother's address. Victoria legally couldn't go near Emma without facing arrest. That night, Tyler showed me a text from Emma. Your dad is a better father than I've ever had. Thank you for not hating me. I looked at my son, saw the pain in his eyes, and made a decision. Tell Emma she's welcome here anytime her grandmother approves. She's not losing you because her mother's a fraud. Tyler's face brightened for the first time in days. Really? Really? But only with her grandmother's permission. Everything goes through proper channels. You're the best, Dad. I just hoped I was doing the right thing. Because the more I learned about Victoria and Derek's plan, the more I realized how close I'd come to losing everything, including possibly my life. 3 days later, Derek Carlson made his first mistake. He showed up at my physical therapy clinic. I was with a patient when Jen, our receptionist, knocked on the door. Ryan, there's someone here demanding to see you. He won't leave. I excused myself and walked out to the waiting room. A man in his early 40s stood by the desk, arms crossed, expensive watch glinting under the fluorescent lights. He had Emma's eyes. Derek Carlson, I assume, I said. We need to talk about you harassing my daughter. Your daughter. I kept my voice level despite the anger rising in my chest. The daughter you abandoned 15 years ago? That daughter. I'm back in Emma's life now, and I don't appreciate you filling her head with lies about her mother. I stepped closer, making sure my voice carried only to him. Let me be clear about something, Derek. Emma contacted Tyler on her own. She told him the truth about what you and Victoria were planning because she has a conscience. Something you clearly lack. You turned her against Victoria. No, you did that when you conspired to defraud me. And here's another thing you should know. There's a restraining order preventing Victoria from contacting Emma. If you go near that girl or her grandmother, I'll make sure you're added to that order. Derek's face flushed red. You can't tell me I can't see my own daughter. I'm not telling you anything. The court is. And if you're smart, you'll walk out of here before I call the police for trespassing. Derek leaned in, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You think you're so smart, locking down accounts and running to lawyers. Victoria and I had this planned perfectly until your brat son and Emma started playing Romeo and Juliet. There it was. Confirmation, recorded on the security camera above the reception desk that I'd deliberately positioned myself under. Is that a confession? I asked calmly. Derek's eyes widened as he realized what he'd said. You're recording this. Actually, the clinic's security system is recording this. And you just admitted to conspiracy to commit fraud on camera. I pulled out my phone. Now I'm calling the police. Derek backed toward the door. This isn't over. You're right. It's not. Because I'm pressing criminal charges. See you in court, Derek. He left, and I immediately called Tom, sending him the security footage. Tom's response was immediate. This is gold. I'm forwarding this to the DA's office right now. That evening, Tom called back. The district attorney is opening a criminal investigation into Victoria Hayes and Derek Carlson for conspiracy to commit fraud and possible insurance fraud. They want your full cooperation. They've got it. There's more. Derek has a record. 2 previous fraud charges in California, both settled before trial. The DA thinks this could finally stick. I thought about Emma, learning that her biological father wasn't just absent. He was a career criminal. Does Emma need to know about Derek's past? That's up to her grandmother. But Ryan, Emma's probably going to be called as a witness if this goes to trial. She needs to be prepared. I'll talk to Tyler about it. Let him know Emma might need support through this. After hanging up, I sat in my office and stared at the security footage frozen on my computer screen. Derek's face, twisted with anger and arrogance. Caught in the moment, he confessed. Victoria and Derek had planned to take everything from me. My money, possibly my life through that insurance policy, and they'd used a 15-year-old girl as part of their scheme. But Emma had found the courage to tell the truth. and Derek had just handed me everything I needed to destroy them both. Justice was coming, and it was going to be absolutely thorough. The preliminary hearing happened 2 weeks later. Victoria and Derek sat at the defendant's table with their attorneys, both trying to look composed. Victoria wore a conservative dress and minimal makeup, clearly attempting to appear sympathetic. Derek kept his expression neutral, though his jaw was tight. Tom sat next to me, a thick folder of evidence in front of him. "The DA's got a strong case," Tom whispered. "Between Emma's testimony, the security footage of Derek's confession, and the financial records, they're done." Emma was scheduled to testify. Her grandmother Christine brought her court, and I saw Tyler immediately stand up when they entered. Emma looked terrified, her face pale. Tyler walked over and took her hand, ignoring the stares from Victoria across the room. Victoria's face twisted when she saw them. She leaned toward her attorney, whispering frantically, but he just shook his head. When Emma was called to the stand, her voice shook as she was sworn in. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Karen Dixon, approached gently. "Emma, can you tell us about conversations you overheard between your mother and Derek Carlson?" Emma's hands trembled. "About a month ago, I heard them talking in our kitchen. Mom said, 'We need to get the insurance money secured before Ryan figures anything out.' Derek said something about making sure the timing was right." "Did your mother mention Ryan Mitchell specifically?" "Yes. She said Ryan was too trusting, and that he'd already signed the policy without reading it carefully." Derek laughed and said that's what made him perfect. Victoria stood up abruptly. "She's lying. Emma, tell them the truth." The judge slammed his gavel. "Ms. Hayes, sit down or you'll be removed from this courtroom." Victoria's attorney pulled her back in her seat, but the damage was done. The entire courtroom had seen her lose control, seen her try to intimidate her own daughter on the stand. Emma continued, tears streaming down her face. "Mom also talked about the joint account with Ryan. She told Derek she'd been moving money out slowly, putting it in an offshore account Derek set up. She said Ryan wouldn't notice because he trusted her with the wedding planning." Karen showed Emma a document. "Is this the account statement you found in your mother's desk?" "Yes. I took a picture of it and sent it to Tyler because I didn't know what else to do. I knew it was wrong, but she's my mom, and I was scared." "Thank you, Emma. That was very brave." During cross-examination, Victoria's attorney tried to suggest Emma was influenced by Tyler, that she was a teenager with a crush making up stories. But Emma held firm, her voice gaining strength. "I love my mom, but what she did was wrong. Ryan was good to us. He treated me like a daughter, and she was planning to steal from him, maybe worse. I couldn't stay quiet about that." When Emma stepped down, Tyler met her at the courtroom gate and hugged her. Victoria looked like she'd been struck. She'd lost her daughter's loyalty, and everyone in that room knew it. The judge reviewed the evidence and set a trial date for 2 months out. As we left, Victoria tried to approach Emma in the hallway, but courthouse security intervened, citing the restraining order. "Emma, please," Victoria called out. "You don't understand what you've done." Emma turned, her face wet with tears, but her voice steady. "I understand perfectly, Mom. I stopped you from hurting someone good. That's what I've done." Tom put his hand on my shoulder. "That kid's got more integrity than most adults I know." I watched Tyler walk Emma and her grandmother to their car, saw how protective he was of her, and felt something settle in my chest. Whatever Victoria and Derek had tried to destroy, they'd failed. Emma and Tyler had something real, built on honesty and courage. And Victoria was about to lose everything. 3 days after the hearing, Christine called me. "Ryan, I need to talk to you about Emma's living situation. I met her at a coffee shop near her house." Christine looked exhausted, older than her 76 years. "Emma wants to stay with me permanently," Christine said. "She doesn't want anything to do with Victoria, not after everything that's come out. But I'm getting older, and raising a 15-year-old isn't easy. What can I do to help?" Christine stirred her coffee slowly. "Emma asked if she could spend time at your house. With Tyler. She says your home feels safe, that you make her feel like she matters." The request caught me off guard. "Christine, I want to help Emma, but I have to be careful. Victoria's lawyer could twist this into something it's not." "I know. That's why I talked to my own attorney. If you're willing, we could set up a formal arrangement. You'd be listed as an approved adult supervisor, with my permission. Everything documented and legal. You trust me with that?" Christine met my eyes. "You protected my granddaughter when her own mother was willing to sacrifice her for money. Yes, I trust you. And more importantly, Emma trusts you. She needs stability right now, and Tyler's been the one constant in her life through this nightmare. I thought about it. About Tyler and Emma, two kids trying to find solid ground while their parents' war raged around them. If your attorney draws up the paperwork, I'll sign it. Emma's welcome in my home whenever you approve it. Christine's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. You didn't have to do this. Emma did the right thing when it mattered most. She deserves support, not abandonment. That weekend, Emma came over for dinner. Tyler had been anxious all day, cleaning his room, helping me cook, making sure everything was perfect. When Emma arrived with Christine, she looked nervous but hopeful. We ate together, the four of us, and it felt surprisingly natural. Emma helped Tyler clear the table, and I heard them laughing in the kitchen about some inside joke. Christine smiled at me across the table. They're good together, she said quietly. Real. Honest. After dinner, Tyler and Emma went to sit on the back porch while Christine and I talked in the living room. Through the window, I could see them holding hands, Emma's head on Tyler's shoulder. I never thought Victoria would do something like this, Christine said. I raised her better than that. Or I thought I did. This isn't your fault. Maybe not. But I failed to see what she was becoming. A woman who'd use her own child as part of a con. Who'd planned to defraud a good man. Maybe worse. Christine shook her head. Emma's embarrassed about her mother, ashamed of where she comes from. Then we make sure she knows she's not defined by Victoria's choices. She's her own person, and she's got a good heart. When Christine and Emma left that evening, Tyler stood in the doorway watching their car disappear down the street. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think Emma and I have a real chance? I mean, with everything that's happened, her mom, the trial coming up, it's a lot. I put my hand on his shoulder. Tyler, what you two have is built on honesty and courage. Emma risked everything to do the right thing, and you've stood by her through it all. That's a stronger foundation than most relationships ever get. Yeah, I think you've got a real chance. Tyler smiled, and for the first time since Sarah died, I saw a real hope in my son's eyes. 2 weeks later, the DA's office called. Victoria had taken a plea deal to avoid trial. She'd plead guilty to fraud and conspiracy charges, accepting 5 years in prison with 3 suspended. Derek refused to plea and would face trial alone. Tom called me with the news. Victoria's attorney convinced her that fighting this would mean more prison time. With Emma's testimony and the evidence, she had no real defense. What about Derek? He's still convinced he can beat this. Arrogance will be his downfall. That night, I told Tyler and Emma together. Emma cried, not from sadness but from relief. It's really over. The criminal case against your mom is over. Derek's trial is in 6 weeks, but yeah, it's mostly done. Emma looked at me, her eyes red but clear. Thank you for not giving up on me, for letting me be part of your family, even though my mom tried to destroy yours. Emma, you saved my family. You had the courage to tell the truth when it mattered most. You're not Victoria's victim. You're a hero. She hugged me then, this 15-year-old girl who'd lost her mother to prison but found something better, a place where honesty and integrity mattered more than blood. And watching Tyler hold her hand, I knew we'd all survive Victoria's scheme and come out stronger on the other side. Derek Carlson's trial began 8 weeks after Victoria's plea deal. He'd refused every settlement offer, convinced he could charm a jury. That arrogance cost him everything. The prosecution built their case methodically. Financial records showing the offshore account. The security footage of Derek confessing at my clinic. Emma's testimony about conversations she'd overheard. And the insurance policy with its suspicious timing. Derek's attorney tried to paint him as a father trying to reconnect with his daughter, manipulated by Victoria. But when the prosecution played the security footage of Derek saying, "We had this planned perfectly until your brat son and Emma started playing Romeo and Juliet," the jury's faces hardened. The defense called Derek to testify. Big mistake. Mr. Carlson, the prosecutor asked, you stated that you and Victoria Hayes planned something perfectly. What were you planning? That was taken out of context. I meant. You meant what, exactly? Because the evidence shows a pattern. Insurance policy timing, systematic fund extraction, documented conversations about getting out before the wedding. What context makes that innocent? Derek stumbled through answers, contradicting himself repeatedly. By the time he stepped down, his credibility was destroyed. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: conspiracy to commit fraud, insurance fraud, attempted theft. The judge sentenced him to 12 years. No possibility of parole for 8. Derek's face went white as they led him away in handcuffs. He'd gambled on beating the system and lost spectacularly. Outside the courthouse, Tom shook my hand. "It's over, Ryan. They can't touch you now." Emma and Tyler stood nearby, her hand in his. "Is it really done?" Emma asked. "It's done," I confirmed. "Derek's going to prison for a long time. Your mom's already serving her sentence. You're safe now." Emma's eyes filled with tears. I can stop looking over my shoulder. "Yeah, you can just be a kid again." That evening, Christine invited us for dinner to celebrate. Tyler, Emma, Christine, and I sat around her dining table. And for the first time in months, the conversation was light. Normal. Emma laughed at one of Tyler's jokes, and Christine beamed. "I want to propose something," Christine said as we finished eating. "Emma's asked if she can stay with me permanently. I'm petitioning for full custody, and Victoria won't contest it from prison. But Emma also wants to maintain her relationship with Tyler and spend time at your house, Ryan. With proper arrangements, of course." "I think that's a great idea," I said. "Emma's always welcome." "There's more," Christine continued. "I'm not getting any younger, and raising a teenager takes energy I don't always have. If you'd be willing, Ryan, I'd like you to be listed as Emma's secondary guardian. If anything happens to me, she'd have somewhere stable to go." The request stunned me. "Christine, that's a huge responsibility." "I know, but you've already been acting like her father. You protected her when her own mother wouldn't. And she loves your son. I can't think of anyone better." I looked at Emma, saw hope and fear mixed in her expression. "If that's what Emma wants, I'd be honored." Emma nodded, tears streaming. "Yes, please." Tyler squeezed her hand, grinning wider than I'd seen in years. 2 weeks later, the paperwork was official. I was Emma's legal secondary guardian. She started spending weekends at our house, and slowly, the fear in her eyes faded. She smiled more, laughed easily, became the teenager she should have been all along. One Saturday morning, I found Tyler and Emma in the kitchen making breakfast together. They moved around each other naturally, comfortable and happy. "Dad, we made pancakes," Tyler announced. Emma set a plate in front of me, beaming. "First time I've cooked them without burning them." I watched these two kids who'd survived their parents' war and found something genuine in the wreckage, and felt a peace I hadn't known since Sarah died. Victoria and Derek had tried to destroy my life. Instead, they'd given me something unexpected, a second chance at being a father to a girl who needed one, and the joy of watching my son find real love built on honesty and courage. They'd lost everything. I'd gained a family. 26 months after Victoria sent that text ending our engagement, I stood in the backyard watching Tyler and Emma graduate high school together. They wore matching caps and gowns, holding hands as their names were called. Tyler Mitchell, Emma Hayes. The crowd applauded, but I was lost in memories of how we'd gotten here. The battles fought, the trust rebuilt, the family forged from the ashes of betrayal. Christine sat beside me, dabbing her eyes. "They made it, Ryan. Despite everything, they made it." "They did," I agreed. After the ceremony, Tyler pulled me aside. "Dad, I got the scholarship. Full ride to University of Colorado for physical therapy." Pride swelled in my chest. "Tyler, that's incredible." Emma got into their nursing program. "We'll be together." He paused. "I know it's fast, and we're young, but I love her, Dad. Really love her." "I know you do, son. And she loves you. You two have been through more than most couples face in a lifetime. If you can survive what you survived and come out stronger, you can handle anything." That evening, we had a celebration dinner at our house. Christine brought Emma's favorite dessert. Tyler grilled steaks. Emma set the table, moving through our home like she belonged there, because she did. During dinner, Emma stood up, her glass raised. "I want to say something. 2 years ago, my world fell apart. My mom went to prison. My biological father turned out to be a criminal. Everything I thought I knew was a lie." She looked at me. "But Ryan gave me something I never really had. A father who cared more about doing right than looking right. Tyler gave me love that's real and honest. And Grandma gave me a home where I'm safe." She turned to Tyler. "I don't know where I'd be without you. Probably lost. Definitely broken. But you stood by me when I had nothing to offer but truth in broken pieces. Tyler stood and kissed her forehead. You've never been broken, Em. You've always been the strongest person I know. Christine was openly crying now. You two give this old woman hope for the future. Later, after Christine and Emma left, Tyler sat with me on the back porch. Dad, do you ever think about what would have happened if Victoria's plan had worked? I considered it. Sometimes. But then I remember that it didn't work because of Emma's courage and your integrity. You two stopped something terrible from happening. Do you think Mom will be proud of us? The question caught me off guard. Your mother? Tyler, she'd be so proud of the man you've become. The way you stood by Emma, the way you handled everything with dignity. Yeah, she'd be proud. I miss her sometimes. Me too. But I think she'd be happy we found our way forward. That we built something good from something terrible. Tyler nodded, staring at the stars. Emma and I are getting married someday. Not now, not for a few years. But someday. I wanted you to know. I figure as much. You two are solid. Thanks for not giving up on us, Dad. For fighting for what was right, instead of just walking away. That's what fathers do, son. We protect what matters. The next morning, I drove to the cemetery where Sarah was buried. I hadn't visited in months, but today felt right. I sat by her headstone and told her everything. About Victoria's betrayal, about Emma's courage, about Tyler's strength, about the family we'd accidentally built from the ruins of a con. We made it, Sarah, I said quietly. Tyler's going to be okay. Better than okay. And I found my way back to living instead of just surviving. The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, I could almost hear her voice saying what she'd always said. I'm proud of you, Ryan. I drove home to find Tyler and Emma in the driveway, loading boxes into Tyler's car for their campus apartment visits. They were laughing about something, young and hopeful and free. Victoria had texted that the wedding was off and her lawyer would contact me, thinking she'd destroy me. Instead, she'd free me to find something better. Emma had gained a real father. Tyler had found a partner built on truth. And I'd learned that sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the best outcomes. Victoria was still in prison. Derek would be there for years. But we were here, thriving, living proof that integrity and courage beat manipulation every time. I'd won, not by destroying them. They destroyed themselves. I'd won by building something honest and good from what they tried to burn down. And standing there, watching my son and his future wife plan their futures together, I'd never felt more grateful for a text message that once shattered my world but ultimately saved my life.